Well, welcome back to Journey Mappers podcast. This is sponsored by Oakland University Credit Union. My name is Ian Cawley. I'm Director of Career and Life Design in the School of Business Administration here at Oakland University. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of a traditional interview, we're going to turn to a conference presentation that we did back in the summer here with a state organization, and we're going to try to turn that into a conversation. Lots of great topics to dig into there. The presentation was called From Zero to Hero, all about what it takes to build a brand on campus if you're a company looking to recruit Golden Grizzlies. But we kind of take some left and right turns in that conversation and try to make it as valuable to students as we are to employers who might be looking for some Golden Grizzly talent. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Bill Steck. He's Manager of Recruitment and Campus Relations at Yo & Yo, and he's my co-presenter today. Welcome, Bill Steck.
Well, thanks, Ian. Always good to see you and everyone else here on campus at OU.
I guess to open this podcast, why don't you share a little bit with our viewers about your background, your company, and what has you on campus often here at Oakland University?
Yeah, so again, Bill Steck. I'm the Manager of Recruitment and Campus Relations for Yo & Yo, and it all started in hospitality, actually, sports entertainment industry. I catered to celebrities. So some of the students here at OU probably saw me at the Dine Etiquette event last spring. But then what happened was I went to higher education for 11 years. And that's where I built the relationships with faculty, staff, the deans throughout the campus. The SVSU is where I was. And then I built those relationships with the students and employers. And then that's where I met you at the Michigan Career Educator and Employer Alliance. We'll talk about that later. But then as my career went on, those relationships I built with employers, the president and CEO-elect of Yo & Yo, I've known for all those years at SVSU. And long story short, he called my name to become this new position he created for the firm. And now I get to build the relationships with students and faculty and staff from all universities across the state of Michigan. So it's I never dreamt of this, and it's amazing to be in this role now almost 4 years.
Wow, very, very cool. And I know we have kind of a flip-flop with our careers, right?
Right.
So you started in higher ed, or not, I know you're in the beginnings, it was hospitality management, but
Correct.
The early bulk of your career was higher ed career services. And
yeah, we each did a 180. You were on the employer side, now higher ed. So we each have jumped to the dark sides.
Exactly. But that's the spice of life, right? Some variety and kind of bringing what we each had in a past life to the current life. That's right. I spent the first half of my career in talent acquisition in Metro Detroit and jumped that fence to higher ed career services several years ago. So we both certainly understand each other. Mm-hmm. We get those two worlds, and I think we both love bringing them together, right? All in the spirit of student success and experiential learning.
Without a doubt. And that's why we connect so well together, because we can pitch each other off of what we've experienced on both of those sides. And it's a win-win situation for us, but most importantly, the students.
What about the kind of the networking karma that helps lead to collaboration? And I think that's a strong suit of yours. And why don't you talk a little bit about that, about networking overall? Networking's
key. It all starts with introductions of the meet and greets, whether that be at on-campus events, but most importantly, LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn every single day. So regardless on where you meet those individuals, you want to follow up with them on LinkedIn. And it goes beyond just connecting with that individual. Message periodically. Say, I'll see you at an upcoming event. Keep that conversation going. Don't assume someone's going to reach out to you. You always want to be that one to be that initiator of that communicator. And so networking takes you places. It really does. And that's where people always ask me two things. How do you know so many people? And the answer to that is I get out and about. You got to make that presence at anything possible, especially when you're a college student. This is your small chapter of life, but it's a very large, impactful chapter of your life, because this is where you're going to learn what you want to do in life. And those people like you have all the tools in the toolbox to give to them to figure out what they want to do in life. Then you get to introduce them to key managers of recruitment like me to say, hey, have you heard of our company? And that's where the networking becomes contagious. Because even if I can't get a position filled with that particular student, I can at least show them my network of people from other companies. I'm going to start bringing in the Michigan Career Educator Employer Alliance. You and I have been in that organization for 10 plus years. And it's amazing on all the other schools, but most importantly, all the other companies that are members there. So I have referred students I have met to my colleagues of other companies and say, hey, I don't have a position for this student because of their major, but I know you have these opportunities. Go take a look at these students. So we take our gaming hat off when you think about it and say, hey, we're all in this together to help get talent filled, especially from students from Michigan.
Agree. And I've enjoyed the participation we both have been able to have, but we've inserted ourselves, right? You've got to be forward leaning, whether as a student or a working professional, to put yourself in that neighborhood, wherever that is, whatever that thing is, right? And lean in and do those things. So I think we both try to be that living example as well for our students. And it can seem like a heavier lift on the front end, but in my world, in my mind, it's always paid me back tenfold when I've jumped into something like that, right?
What I tell students all the time is, this may sound creepy at first, but someone is always watching you. And I'm going to look at you right now, because when you put yourself on LinkedIn, share the success you are doing as a student, but also then as a professional when you graduate from college, because you're the one that controls your own destiny. You never know where life will take you. I have been, as I said earlier, from sports, entertainment, hospitality to higher ed and to now corporate recruiting. Never would have dreamt I was going to be in this position, but how I got in this position was from how I built my brand and showcased what I was able to do within my career. And then now those people were watching, and I never knew that until I got offered this position.
Excellent. Let's talk about, when you talk about building your brand, much of our presentation at the Messiah Conference in June of this year was about how an employer builds that brand on campus. Can you touch a little bit on how you've done that the last few years here at Oakland?
Yeah, so when I got into this role with Yo and Yo, I realized Yo and Yo never really had a big presence at Oakland University, especially with us having a location at the time in Auburn Hills. Now we just recently acquired a new space in Troy. We've been there for a year now. And it's like, all right, let's roll up the sleeves. Let's get to work. And the beauty of it is our relationship to start. You open those doors for me to get with the key faculty, the department chair, the dean, all the way up to the president. It was amazing to meet all of those individuals so they can learn more about our company. But then once that came into play, now let's get on campus and let's show students who we are and what we're all about. And that's the difference maker right there. Because when you just come to an employment fair, a lot of students are going to shy away from them because they're like, okay, I don't know them. I don't know who they are. I never heard about them. I'm going to go to people I already know. But once you become a contagious platform of a visibility standpoint, they're going to be like, okay, I remember this guy. I remember this girl. I remember this company called Yo and Yo. Let me go figure out who they are. And then, of course, they're going to meet with you, and then you're going to bring them to us too. And then it's a word of mouth, and that's what travels so much. It's like, wow, you got to take a look at this company.
And truly that human element, right? I know we live in the digital age, and there are lots of ways to maybe network, and you bring up LinkedIn, which is a powerful one,
right?
But there's nothing quite like the human face-to-face, right? And the person, let's say, from that company many times really becoming that brand, right?
Oh, big time. It's, when you think about job postings, for one, you have hundreds, if not thousands of positions you're going to see on LinkedIn, but also Handshake, that recruitment platform. And you can't weed through all those. There's just so many. It can get tiring and stressing. But when you go on campus, and especially what you do in Elliott Hall on the employer meet and greet tables, and then the classroom visits and everything else above that, oh my gosh, the students will remember the face, the name, to the company, and to the individual. That's the key to those internships and full-time jobs. So it's quite flattering when I see the role I'm in. It's like, yeah, I'm the face of Yo and Yo. And it's my CEO even said that. And, it's been times it's like, well, I have a good face for radio. I'm not sure about in-person events. And so now, 4 years later, it is unbelievable feeling on how many students feel comfortable now to come have that conversation with me because they want to be heard. Even if I can't hire them, they just want to be heard and see what can I do to give them advice for where they want to go in their career journey.
Excellent. And when I'm talking with a newer employer who wants to try to get some brand going on campus, I often talk about, it doesn't happen overnight,
No.
but it's got to be consistent.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be 30 different things, right? But maybe talk about a handful of things that you've done early on and that you continue to do as let's say, an annual presence on the campus.
Yeah, so I partner very closely with Donna Free with the accounting department. So, of course, we are heavy on recruiting for accounting students. So I am placed in their Oasis Club. So we're there every semester. And that is where the students love hearing professional development presentations because, at the end of the day, I can talk about Yo and Yo all the time. But I also know we can't hire all of them at the same time. And so at least we can give them that professional advice. But then after that, I was able to come to your inaugural event of the Dress for Success of the fashion show Dianeticate. That was a great hit. We had other employers in the room as well. And that's where the student vibe is amazing because it's not intimidating. It's not the employment fair. It's more of a networking, professional atmosphere event to live, learn, and connect with. And so when you just go to employment fairs, that to me is not successful. You have to be on campus more because that's where you're going to see the students and they're going to remember who you are and carry on those conversations for a long time.
What about a little sidebar when we talk about a student organization like Oasis, and there are close to 20 of these organizations in the business school alone on campus here? Can you talk a little bit about a student kind of building their social capital by maybe not necessarily being an e-board member, but minimally being a member, or at least dipping your toe in that pool by attending a meeting if you're curious?
Without a doubt. I sound like a broken record even in my higher ed days is you want to build that resume, but you also want to build that strength of knowledge of what career you're going into because you can learn so much in the classroom, but now you got to be in these clubs and organizations to go beyond what you're learning from the textbook and from the professor because you got those guest speakers coming in, which is ultimately us companies, and we are the keys for your future. So it's up to you on who you want to build that, core relationship with for success for an internship and beyond. But when it comes to being in those clubs and organizations, you get to add that to the resume. So when we see these hundreds and thousands of resumes, we are looking at what are they doing academically, but what are they doing on their campus? Because that's their new home for 4 or 5 years as a student. We want to see their involvements, especially when it's tied to their academic major.
All right. Thank you. What about if we flipped it back to the employer side again? Let's say when you've got an employer who's new to campus, some front-end tips that you might share with an up-and-comer or an employer who's just never been to our campus who really wants to get at really good talent here. We've got lots of great Golden Grizzlies. What are our first few steps you might recommend?
First thing is they got to look at the Career and Life Design Center, see those key contacts. They're going to then be able to get them into the system if they're not already, which I'm going to go back to the job platform of Handshake. But then beyond that, there's so many events that they can do on campus. You just had your major minor expo yesterday. You have other events of mock interview days, prepping them for the actual employment fairs. But there's just so many endless opportunities you guys do here. And especially with you in the business building, you got those employer table sits. That is, twice a week throughout the semesters. That is how we started our brand. We just started setting up those tables. The students are flowing up and down the hallways in between classes, and they're going to stop because they know it's not an intimidating factor of an employment fair. And of course, you got free stuff. Students love the free stuff. We bring swag, snacks,
treats.
You name it, treats. You got to sweeten them up.
Little sugar.
Little sugar. And that's where, with Yo and Yo, we're known for our yo-yos. So that's how they remember our name by having.
So there are
toy.
strings attached.
Of course. I mean, we have our ups and downs, right?
All right, we'll stop there with the dad jokes.
Hey, right. But yeah, ultimately at the end of the day is the employers need to build the relationships with the school administrators, come to those other events besides the employment fairs. Still come to the employment fairs, but go to as many as you can, even if, like, for example, the accounting recruitment busy season's in the fall. But we're still here in the winter. We're still here in the summer months. It's a whole year cycle because students are always here. You know, we always plan and get ready for the next school year. So it's not a one and done deal by going to those fairs.
Thank you so much for that. I think that'll be helpful for any potential employers that want to recruit here. What if we flip it back on the academic side of the house, right? We recently, not recently, but in the last couple of years, let's say, got the reaccreditation with AACSB.
Yep.
Can you tell a brief story on that about how you were able to share some employer feedback with an accrediting body?
Yeah, I'm still thankful for the invitation you brought with me and other employers. We had lunch with the committee, and they were really just asking us questions on how we felt a part of the Oakland University community. And you know, obviously it was non-scripted. We spoke from the heart. Truly, this is one of the most remarkable universities to work with throughout my journey in Michigan. And it's because of the relationships we have with the faculty, the administrators, up to the dean, to the provost, to the president level. And I told that accreditation team, I said, listen, at the end of the day, this is the well-written book, playbook, if you want to look at it that way, on student success. Because how you are involved with the students, the employers, and how you build that message on LinkedIn and beyond, it's incredible. If every other university could do that, that'd be amazing.
Well, thank you for that compliment. I think we work hard at that. But
you didn't pay me to say that.
No,
either.
I didn't pay you to say that. So thank you for that. What about, again, you talked about feeling part of the OU community. What keeps drawing you back? You've been on campus several times. I know your professional goal with your company was to build a brand and hire more of our great students, but kind of what keeps you coming back, and how do you work that out with all of your other commitments around the state?
Yeah, you know, we make time. This is my job. My job is to continue the relationships with the schools, but most importantly, building the relationships with the students and alumni. And sometimes I feel I'm a student here of how many times I've been here a school year. I'm still waiting for my name to be on a parking spot out here, by the way. Maybe we can make that work. But at the end of the day, though, it's the student building relationships. I am now, when I come park in the parking lot, there's times I see students and they remember who I am. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's working. You know, it's amazing on how they remember who you are from those presentations or events that you show up for. And that's what brings me back. And then, of course, the ROI is the applicants we're getting now from the school. And then, of course, who I interview and who I hire. From when I started 4 years ago to now, it's quadruple of applicants that we're getting from Oakland University. And then, of course, the acceptance rates is remarkable, and it's truly remarkable. Even to my partners within the firm, they're like, you are making a statement of Oakland University and how much more Grizzlies we're bringing into the firm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done on campus to date. What about if we go back to that student perspective, that advice for students? Like, some of these students recognize you. They reach out to you in the parking lot. Can you give some advice to students like that about how they can maybe up their game a little bit on the social capital and the communication when they see an employer partner on campus?
You know, students feel, oh, I don't want to be that pest or that annoyance, right? No, we want you to come talk to us. We want you to stay engaged with us because we don't know what's going on through your life, because things always change. Graduation dates can change. Majors can change. You could pick up on a minor. You could go study abroad, whatever the case may be. But just have that relationship with us and always stay engaged. You know, not saying email me every day or message me every day, but check in once a week or once a month, or at least 2 to 3 times a semester. I tell students this all the time, and I hope you Grizzlies take this for granted here, is that,
or don't take it for granted.
right, is that the fact is that, you know, there's only so many positions a company can hire for. And if you're not that chosen one for this semester, stay engaged and don't give up. You always have the following semester, the following semester. Yeah, go explore other companies. That's completely fine. But you never know where life will take you down the road, and that door can open up for this company that you tried before.
What about if we break into like a quick intern story where I think you had these Friday check-ins with Brooke as an example. Can you tell about how you bring that relationship development to life with your interns?
Yes. So one of my OU interns, Brooke, she checks in with me weekly. And this is all on her own, which is amazing. And that's a student example right there that completely stands out, is the fact that she's just saying, hey, Bill, how's it going? Hope your week's going well. She'll ask me some meaningful questions here and there. But at the end of the day, when you think about when you hire an intern and whatnot, you never really hear from those interns until they really need something until the end of the term. But here it's just weekly check-ins. That's what builds that relationship. And that's where you're always going to think of those students at the front of mind. And then you start talking about those interns with other partners within the firm, especially when we update each other on, okay, this is what I have available for next semester. Are you interested? They're updating me on location-wise because we have 9 locations in Michigan. And so it may work out this semester for them, but they may want to relocate to a different location next semester. They have to tell me that, because if I don't know that, I'm going to feel they're happy on where they're at. But at this situation, this student told me I want a different location for the next semester, and then it worked out.
That's a great example too, right? About having some agility with students, because we know when they're interns here at Oakland, it's going to be academics first, right? And then experiential learning, right, dovetailing into that. But tell me more about how employees are not a number or shouldn't be treated as such, and what you do culture-wise from the front end of recruiting and communication to when they're an intern and sometimes convert to a full-time employee.
Yeah, we treat everyone like a human. It's every applicant we see, we're reading those, we're getting back to them, regardless if it's an interview or not an interview at this time, but they're going to hear from us. And when they do come on board with us, it's an amazing culture that we have at Yo. It's all about the people. They're serving the people out there for the needs that they have from the tax and consulting and assurance side. And then we have other things: technology, medical billing, human resources, advisories, all that. So we're giving back to those of the clients, but now we got to give back to our staff and our interns. And so we got to make sure that this is home to them. So the culture that we have is amazing. You get that question all the time in interviews. Tell us about your culture, right? So we have a great team events, team retreats, especially after busy seasons. For the student interns, we take them to Cedar Point every summer, which is amazing. And then everyone loves food and beverage. So there's always a ways to find a party for food and beverage. And we do a lot of fun events, especially being in Michigan. We got the Detroit sports market. So we do a lot with the Pistons and the Tigers. I get the high demand now, of course, the Lions, because they're finally good. But the fact is, it's very hard to do a big event for the Detroit Lions with whole season ticket holders there.
You talk too about like the importance, and I know it can be tough the larger the company, but the importance of getting back to applicants, even when it's not a higher offer is coming, right? Yes. Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah. So, no one likes the bad news, right? But you want to make sure they hear that bad news. And ultimately, too, if that candidate responds back and says, hey, what is it that I was missing? Because that's information I'm sure you and I know for sure myself. I don't know about you, Ian, but back in our days in college, it's like, yeah, I wanted to know, what did I not do good at? Was I horrible at interviewing? Was I stuttering? Was it eye contact? Was it body posture? Whatever that case may be. Or what was I missing on my resume, skill sets wise? Because sometimes you just don't get those answers. And that's something that I love taking with me from higher ed to now in this position, is I can provide that feedback to those students. It's like, okay, it was a very competitive applicant pool, but this is what you were missing. So I would recommend go doing this stuff and then build that profile when you do become ready to apply in the future.
Well, thank you for that. I think that'll be very helpful not just for students, but for other employers who might want to up their game on sometimes it's not always good news you're sharing.
Right.
But I talk to so many students who say, even if it's that I'm not hired, it's nice to hear that back. So thank you.
Well,
Go
and
ahead.
Ian, if you don't mind, one thing I'll ask too is, well, not ask, but say is, if we contact you, regardless if it's an email or if it's a message on LinkedIn or a phone call, if we leave you a voicemail, return those messages back. I couldn't tell you how many times still students don't respond back, even if it's good or bad news, because that could determine your fate in the future if we don't hear from you.
Right. I think timely and professional communication on both sides of that little fence are very important, right?
Yeah. One quick example is I gave the student the unfortunate news that they didn't get the internship. They actually responded back and said, I appreciate the communication of this, and I'm looking forward to applying again in the future. That stands out because you don't get that.
It's pretty rare. So you're going to remember that, right?
I will remember that student for the next time they apply.
Golden Grizzlies, earn more and stand out. Whether you're restocking your fridge or fueling up for your next road trip, make your everyday purchases count with OU Credit Union. The Visa Signature Credit Card gives you perks with every swipe. 3% cash back on groceries, 2% on gas, travel, and university purchases, and 1% on everything else. Plus, with its sleek black grizz design, you'll show off your OU pride every time you swipe. Learn more and apply today at oucreditunion.org/visa.
How about we switch gears now and get into that kind of back into that social media world and the topic of, let's say, storytelling. Tell me a bit about how you all do the storytelling and use social media and how that's maybe worked with interns, with us here at Oakland University, just using the power of social media to tell that story, right?
Even my president and CEO picks on me, torments me all the time as, Bill's going to be doing a selfie anytime soon. So, and Ian, we can do that right now here on the podcast, right? But no, it's no matter where you're at, is you want to showcase what you're doing. So whether it be on campus, whether it be at your workplace, or whether it be a fun event at a Pistons game, you want to share that moment on LinkedIn, and because that's where all the professionals are. I go back to what I said earlier, someone's always watching. Even if you're not connected with somebody, you're going to be connected with someone within that person's network to see that post on LinkedIn. And that's where that has helped me build my brand of what I do for Yo and Yo, but it's also helped build the student's brand on when they become that intern and full-time accountant. Because when they become that full-time professional, they got to still continue building their brand because they're building their portfolio of clients. So they got to showcase the conferences they're going to sharpen more of their professional skills, but ultimately to showcase, I'm here to be your professional accounting service.
And you've seen that in some of our Golden Grizzlies who, not like you asked them to do it, but they proactively have told their own story.
Yes.
On LinkedIn and other social media outlets. And to your point, they're building their own professional brand as their kind of, shining a spotlight or a pride point on their company. So
I say this all the time is there's only one person that can look out for yourself, and that's you. And you're the only one that controls the fate of your brand. And so it's great to come on campus. I know the students love our presentation on how to build your brand on LinkedIn, because it's flattering too to see when I see some of these students that connect with me, they don't have much on LinkedIn yet. And I don't judge because they all have to start from scratch. But now as the school years progress, it's amazing to see that they're taking that advice that's been given by us on what they're doing on LinkedIn, on showcasing the talented stuff they're doing on campus and off campus. It's like, oh my gosh, they're listening. It's amazing.
Well, one of our phrases right in our department is start where you are. So students are certainly welcome to come and work with us in career and life design to get rolling on that social media profile and building their brand early on, right?
Yep.
I have so many employers that say, we love students that use the traditional legacy career services systems on the university campus, but we also love seeing them on LinkedIn, and the earlier the better, right?
Quick story on this. Now, this is not an OU student, but I've Never met this student in person because this student does not go to a university in the state of Michigan, but saw what I've been doing on LinkedIn, and this student saw my stuff through their connections, connected with me on LinkedIn, found out they are from Michigan. They're just going out of state. And I was impressed on the brand this student was building at their university. It was just phenomenal. It's another example of standing out. And then the student messaged me on their own. And again, another check mark of standing out. Saw the applicant apply, interviewed, and then gave them an opportunity to join us in 2026. And I still have not met this person in person, but it's amazing what you can see from people, what they're doing on social media.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great example. Why don't we talk a little bit about, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but of all the universities you visit around the state, what's one or two things just briefly that might make OU stand out as a recruiting partner?
It's the relationships. You have done a remarkable job in regards to getting me to the right people. And now I have that cohort that always comes to me. There's times I always have to say, hey, what can I do to come on campus? But you guys are beating me to that punch. And it's like, hey, Bill, I got this event or this event or this event that I would love to have you there. Yeah. And I will look at my calendar and make it happen. And so that's one thing, is just the interactions and how you guys are proactively coming at me to come make sure Yo and Yo can be a present on campus. But also it's just the community. It's amazing to see the students and the faculty. It's all one big family, and it's just it's a great atmosphere to always be here.
I feel the same just here on the campus, but I think we work to bring that same mindset and the way we operate here at Oakland University to our community at large, including employers like you. So thank you. Before we close out, we did want to add something new. So for this episode, get ready.
Oh, boy.
We reached out on social media, speaking of, and asked OU students what they'd like to know about employer branding and career growth. So we'll each take one student question and hopefully be able to answer it in a reasonable fashion.
Okay.
And we didn't game the system. I have no idea what questions might be coming at us, but
All right.
buckle up.
Buckle up. Here we go.
So, Bill, as a working leader in your company who also makes the time to come to events, not just one, but certainly, let's say, at a signature event like our career fairs, can you talk a little bit? The student wants to know what value you think a leader from the company showing up at such an event, like the value that has for the company brand, but let's say maybe also for the student value.
Right. I look at it two ways. Is as a leader of the company with recruitment, it shows that we care, we're there for them, and that because it can be intimidating, but we want to be out in the forefront and show that this is our culture. We are an open door regardless of what level you are of a position, because they're going to be working with our leaders, and we have an open door policy to always ask those questions because we don't expect you to know everything overnight. So when we come onto the campuses, it just shows our commitment to building those relationships with you as a professional here at the university, but ultimately building relationships with the students. And then from the student perspective, if they see us leaders there, it really shows, to my point of view, that we care. And we care at the end of the day. We care that they are coming to us, and we want them to come to us. Ask those questions. You don't just, come to our table and drop off a resume and leave. Is start asking us those questions, because I treat it as a two-way street. They're looking for those opportunities, but we're looking to fill those opportunities. So we got to drop that barrier of intimidation and also open that door of welcomeness.
That's great. And I think too, right, and it can be tough at a career fair depending on how many students deep you are at your table, because you've got to be respectful of time.
Yep.
And there's an overall time window to the career fair, but having some kind of a meaningful conversation.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes you'll hear once in a while, oh, that booth, they just told me to go to their company website and look for positions online.
And it's like a waiting game. Best of luck to you, right?
Yeah.
And, and look at it from our end. Think about it as us employers coming to your campus. If I did not see you as a leader at that event, or I did not see the department chair of accounting, or I did not see the dean, then I feel, wow, they don't show value in what you're doing. with this event for the students. But that's not the case here. I see you there. I see your dean there. I even see your president there, which is enormous because that shows they're there for us companies, but at the end of the day, they're there for the students and alumni. So that it goes both ways on seeing the leaders.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you to that student who asked that question.
And don't forget to connect with both Ian and I on LinkedIn.
Yes, connect with us. All right. We've got another question that's, I guess, directed to me.
All right.
I would ask you to read it, but you can't see it.
You want me to read
Do you
it?
want to just kind of,
Yeah.
we know each other well, just pick it up through my eyes?
So Ian.
All right. So here's the next question from a student. Ian, is there a magic number of career fairs or events that a current student should aim to attend every year? How can students balance showing up and making strong impressions with other obligations they have as students? I totally get this question. I am a first-gen commuter student for my undergrad way back when, and I get those pressures that students have, right? And we're a heavily commuter population on this campus, but I don't think there's a magic number, but I think if students work this into a stereo or a parallel path, right, to their academic plans here at Oakland, whether they're here for 2 years as a transfer student or for the full 4+ years they might be on campus. I would say 3 to 4 events per academic season minimally. But also I will add, if it's a company of strong interest, and you know they're going to be at a meet and greet in Elliott Hall, they're going to be at a career fair prep workshop, they're going to be at the actual career fair. These employers, if you're somewhat interested in them, they want to see you at most of these events, if not all of them. And this is a way that a student can build their brand with that employer before even formally applying. And how much better is that, right, when you're a student and they already have a face with the name, but they also have had some interactions with the student. So not a magic number, but I would say it should be organically built over time and as often as one can. And we know that varies for each student. It was challenging for me, so I totally understand that. But another great question from another great Golden Grizzly.
And Ian, I'll add to that. This is a question I'm going to add for you is, let's say I'm a freshman here at Oakland University, and I tell you, Ian, I'm a freshman. I'm not ready to go to these employment fairs. What would you tell me?
I would tell you, come on down.
Right.
And I would say we're prepping employers several years now to expect to see some freshmen at these career fairs.
Yep.
And these employers want to see the freshmen, right? Because they're building talent pipelines for the future, not just for spring 2026.
Right.
So we encourage it. We have meetups with freshmen. We are actually presenting in front of freshmen embedded in some curriculum here at Oakland. So we're getting in front of those freshmen and we're telling them, yes, employers do want to meet you. And you yourself might not be wanting to apply for an internship for 4 months from now, but you can go and dip your toe in that pool and you can meet some people and you can maybe shake off some nerves knowing that you're just there to explore and maybe also collect some business cards.
You got it.
And so once again, you will not be very fresh, cold call on the front end a year or two from now when you see them again. So that's another great question. Thanks for throwing that at me. Yeah,
because from my perspective here, yes, I'm hiring for 2026, 2027, but I'm also meeting students like freshmen to think of 2028 and 2029 already, because no matter who I meet, I start building their profile in my database. And then the more they engage with me at that younger career standpoint at OU or any university, now they're standing out when it comes time for those internships when those years come. And I'll even add to that when we get back to social media. Now you've got maybe 30, 40 business cards as a freshman. Who could you maybe start adding to your LinkedIn profile, right? Right. And if that's not yet up and running, that's, again, where career and life design come into play for you. So sure does.
It's all built in to the pathway here at Oakland University from freshmen. Yep. So thanks for that question. Well, that really wraps it up for us today. And I know it was a mix of questions, but for me, it was a lot more conversation because we've known each other so long and we've crossed paths in so many ways at the state level, in our day jobs, and even in our personal lives. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Ian.
So thank you for joining us today for the episode of Journey Mappers Podcast. Another episode of Journey Mappers Podcast, that is. And if you're an employer looking to build your brand on campus and hire some great Golden Grizzlies, don't forget to start where you are certainly be visible on campus here and be human. Our students are human too, and they would love that human connection as well as learning about career paths. Thanks again to Yo and Yo, and also to our sponsor, Oakland University Credit Union. We'll see you next time.